And good evening, everybody. And we're back once again here on this return edition here of the Man of Steel podcast with, of course, yours truly, Charles Prodigy Richey, right now, as we're going live right now on Facebook and Instagram. Currently, right now, streaming here. If you guys want to follow me on social media, you can definitely do so by following me on Twitter and Instagram at Prodigy Richey for the Man of Steel podcast. On Twitter, it is at Man of Steel CJR, at Man of Steel Nation on Instagram. We got plenty to get into tonight right now. Definitely starting off with the big news on Friday morning, which was announced by now then retired, currently Pittsburgh Steeler Maurkice Pouncey, who's played 11 seasons with this ball club right here. Definitely a lot down the stretch right there. You can definitely tell what's kind of starting to take a toll on him towards the end. Definitely Ben Roethlisberger was going to bat for him, trying to convince him to not retire and try and come back for another season. But you can just definitely, I think, tell right now, I mean, the look on the man's face, I mean, the last few years, I mean, when you really think about it, I mean, aside from that, I mean, you look at, I mean, I'll even go back to 2018 when they failed to make the playoffs without having Le'Veon Bell right there, and they only had Antonio Brown right there. That was a very tumultuous season right there, to say the least, to start off. And you had like a start right there where, in actuality, where they only won 2 games the rest of the stretch right there, and went on a horrible losing streak right there. They lost 4 out of their 6 remaining games, I believe it was at that point, and it was just a unforeseen circumstance right there. But I mean, at the same time, too, you look at how much this game of football has a lot where it takes demands on not only the total of the players, but as an organization as well. I mean, this guy has, I think, for the most part, since donning the black and gold, I think he's definitely been arguably one of the best stars in a long time. Now, of course, I mean, a lot of people are going to bring up the fact that he's been out for 2 full seasons back in 2013 and 2015. Of course, also not playing in Super Bowl 45 in his rookie year when he got hurt, I believe it was during the AFC Championship game versus New York Jets. So, I mean, that was a lot right there. I mean, one of his best opportunities circumstance right there. But, I mean, at the same I mean, you look at what he did, like his you look at how much, this swagger that he brought with as a Steeler. I mean, a lot of people are going to be pointing to guys like Dodson, then Mike Webster. I mean, basically, I mean, all these guys who been the true centers of this generation at time. And when you really think about it, too, when you also go look at, too, on Pro Football Reference right there, I mean, another thing, too, which was pointed out by Chris Mack of 93.7 The Fan right there, pointed out a very interesting fact right there, which I really did not know. But as far as, like, when you look at the Hall of Fame monitor, as far as, like, where centers are ranked, and currently, as far as centers goes, you got Dodson as the number 1 center, followed by Jim Otto, Mike Webster, then Dwight Stevenson. And below that, that's where you fall into your averages right there. So you also got fellow Hall of Famers, Kevin Mawai, Jim Langer, Mike Tigglehoff right there. So right now, Maurkice Pouncey currently on the Hall of Fame monitor, more recently retired players and current players in the game, is the 8th best center all time. And you look at right there, too, I mean, like the player's chance of getting into the Hall of Fame, he's about 74%, according to Pro Football Reference, and he'll probably get in the Hall of Fame. I really do believe that Maurkice Pouncey was that much of a difference maker. I mean, you look at this guy right here, I mean, what he's contributed to this game. I mean, as far as everything that he's put his mind, body, heart, mind, and soul in here at the end of the day. I mean, he did make an all-decade team, and I do believe he was vital, too. I mean, for such a long time, I mean, with this group here. I mean, he definitely helped a lot, I think, more so definitely as time went on. Huge times in the running game. I mean, the last time the Steelers' running game was really that relevant as an offensive line unit was back in 2016, where they were ranked 14th. And speaking of the offensive line right now, I mean, there's a lot of questions like being thrown up in the air right now. I mean, you already got guys on the free agency list, which we're kind of anticipating to be moved on from this team. You look at left tackle Alejandro Villanueva, also too on this right now. You also got on here right tackle Matt Filer, who's another unrestricted free agent. So basically, the only other veteran you got on this team right now is David DeCastro right now, who's been playing since 2012. He'll be going into his 9th season with the Steelers right now. And you really think about it, you really break the stance right there as far as like, but I mean, at the same time, too, you look at how much look like going forward. Because they are definitely right now in a kind of like a staggering point right now. I mean, a lot of people were anticipating this team to be really bad. I mean, more so because we have no idea what the salary cap number is going to be, but there's still a chance, too, that the salary cap may not drop as bad. And I don't necessarily, I have a hard time believing the Steelers are really going to have a sloppy 2021 season. I think they could still have enough guys around on this team. I'm not so sure about where it's going to translate championship-wise. But you really got to figure right now, too. I mean, currently, the Steelers' cap space, they're still about over $30.6 million over the salary cap number for the time being. There's also supposed to be more talks throughout the week on Ben Roethlisberger, as we've been hearing. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN was reporting, too. It seems like all indications that Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers are going to find a way to come to an agreement, have him return for 2021, which you got to believe has got to be his last best chance right now, because definitely Ben Roethlisberger has been the bell cow in this room as far as like the salary cap number that they cannot play for under $41.25 million. I mean, that's where it would be. Now, if he were to retire this year, he'd have to forfeit about $19 million of that salary right there. And that $19 million in cap savings, which is broken down with $4 million of the base salary that he would be making this year, plus he'd be having the roster bonus, which I believe is due in March, which would be about $15 million. So they definitely got some time to really start working on this, time to start meeting here and see what's best interest for this organization as a whole. Because I got to be honest with you right now, I really felt that on Friday when I was looking at it, as much as Ben's been saying that he wants to come back, and I'm not doubting him for a second, but when you lose a guy like Maurkice Pouncey and all you got left right now is David DeCastro right now, you're going to be working with a younger offensive line unit. I mean, the offensive line did a phenomenal job keeping this man healthy on his feet. I mean, not getting sacked as much. I mean, people will definitely argue more the quick release, but I feel right now, I mean, how lonely is it going to feel for a guy like Ben Roethlisberger to come back, this season and to hardly have any less familiarity? Now you're going to be asking guys on this offensive line right now. You got Kevin Dodson, who's had a pretty good rookie season this year. I mean, playing guard position, more particularly on the left side of the ball. I mean, Chukwuma Okorafor right now, you got to believe this. He's going to be another guy that's going to be coming in the question right now. Is he going to be playing beyond 2021 right now? Who is the backup left tackle currently to Villanueva? Will he be able to slot in the left tackle and be able to pick up the slack going forward? We got a lot of questions around here. And then not only that, the true good center, true center they probably have, which is still a mystery, is J.C. Hassenauer right now. And it's going to be definitely a very big void that they got to fill right now. And then how much does the Steelers' chances of getting a center, alone a legit good offensive lineman with their first pick at number 24 in the first round mean? Now that Pouncey is gone, I would have to think their chances have shot up a little bit. But with Ben Roethlisberger, back with what I was saying, listen, I think they are going to find a way to keep him around, but I mean, I was anticipating that he would more than likely think about just hanging it up. I mean, it's just a lot of pressure going on. I mean, by a lot of people in the media. I mean, more so the fans. I mean, more so the fans. I mean, every right to be. But I mean, at the same time, too, you're walking a very fine line here if you're going to be wanting to move on from a franchise quarterback. Yes, he has slowed down. I mean, yes, the offense has become very predictable. Yes, he's been doing a lot more playing on himself and not trusting the run game. But I mean, who are you going to really find? Because there's still reports out there, too, about Russell Wilson right now. Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks, they may be heading for a divorce right there. There seems to be a little bit unpleasant, pleasant coverage situation with Wilson and the offensive coordinator going on right now, the play calling. I mean, don't forget, I mean, he did get humiliated in that Seahawks loss to the LA Rams in the wild card portion of the playoffs, where you saw this guy got eaten up for 5 sacks in that game. I mean, still they were able to put up 21 points, but at the same time, too, you would think, I mean, that would have been a long-lasting marriage. Him and Pete Carroll. I mean, don't forget, over 2 years ago, I mean, he's the one who got one of his new contracts, too, by the way. And he's going to be having at least 3 more seasons left on his deal for 2023. I mean, he is another guy right now who's going to be definitely in question for the time being. We take a look at it. I mean, this guy is going to be turning 33 next November right now. You got to believe he's starting to feel the pressure as his career continues to move along. I mean, how many more chances does he have legitimately at winning a Super Bowl? I mean, been trying to go in this direction, build around Russell Wilson and the offense in Seattle. I mean, the furthest thing this guy has ever gotten, I mean, since then, I mean, since the breakup of that Legion of Boom defense has been the divisional round. And that was last year's playoffs where they lost in Green Bay to the Packers right now. I mean, so when you really look at it too, I mean, from that perspective right now, I mean, he's going to be having at least $69 million remaining on his deal for the last 3 seasons, $50 million in the last 2 seasons right now. He's only got $19 million in guaranteed salary left for this season with Seattle. And I was just wondering, would the Steelers been willing to trade up for him? Because here's the thing, too. I mean, we also got another guy floating around the room, too, by the name of J.J. Watt. I mean, a guy who's been released by the Texans. He's been very much disgusted, as a lot of players, too, with the mess they've been going on running that team right now. And you got a guy like Deshaun Watson who is continuing to pout and wanting to get the heck out of there. I mean, J.J. Watt, he's another question right now. Will he come over to Pittsburgh? And, I mean, who's been on record saying that he wants to win a Super Bowl, and definitely open to the fact of playing with his brothers, but how much is he going to be willing to take less salary if it comes down to that? I mean, how bad does it really mean for this guy? I mean, if it's not so much about money, because a lot of people are pulling the arrow too. I mean, you look at the Packers right now. If he was to go sign somewhere, basically since he's played football in Wisconsin. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, J.J. Watt. I mean, who's been only healthy for at least 2 out of the last 5 seasons since winning his last Defensive Player of the Year award back in 2015. I mean, a guy who has come in here right now for everything that he has done. I mean, who's playing Central Michigan and Wisconsin right now. And this guy right now, I mean, who's been born and raised in Wisconsin, how much does he want to go back to his home state right there and probably give the Packers a little bit of some decent leverage of giving them another shot at Super Bowl? They're able to convince Aaron Rodgers to still stay on. Because, I mean, his future is still kind of up in the air from when he lost the NFC Championship game to Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I would definitely like to think right now, I mean, if it is about championships, and you really want to get that illustrious ring on your career, I would think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Because here's the thing right now, because they got some pending free agents right now on the move. They got to definitely be looking at, I mean, throughout this. I mean, when you really truly look at it, I mean, definitely on their defensive line, especially too. You look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and you see the names that definitely pop up for who's going to definitely be in question. You look at like edge rusher, Shaquille Barrett, and then you also got linebacker Levante David, inside defensive lineman Dominican Sue right there. I mean, you got like some pretty big names right there. I mean, will he want to come and drink the Kool-Aid with Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with that party right there, who's fresh off winning a Super Bowl? And congratulations once again to Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as well as Bruce Arians, a lot of people from former Pittsburghers on that coaching staff who is definitely, I mean, worked their asses off to get that Super Bowl right there, and the first team ever to win a Super Bowl in their home stadium. So I would like to think if it's really about winning Super Bowls, I would probably think Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The only thing is where I'm a little concerned with if he does come over to the Steelers again, he has only been available for 2 out of the last 5 seasons. I'm not sure if that's going to be highly enough. I mean, when you look at like possibly having the loss of Bud Dupree, moving on from this team, I just tend to think right now because what's going to happen if he gets hurt in the season? Are we going to have another scenario like similar to Bud Dupree's, where he's at least lost for most of the season, if not the entire season? I mean, he's a guy who starts coming in here, he starts help continuing the legacy of that pass rush here. I mean, with the sacks, getting and then also stuff in the run game, but and then you're gonna expose T.J. Watt all over again because right now T.J. Watt, he's another guy right now. When you think about it, I mean, who's going to be coming back more hungrier than ever. I mean, just the thought of having his brothers together, I could only imagine drilling at the mouth together. I mean, just having that presence around each other, lifting each other up on a day-to-day basis, working out. The kind of chemistry they would bring to a locker room, it's definitely invaluable. But again, I think right now, when you look at it, I'm just not so sure TJ Watt is going to be that answer. I mean, if he's going to come in here for lesser money, I'm for it. But again, I'm one of the people. If you bring this guy in, I want to see you available. And he's only had 2 full seasons since winning Defense Player of the Year. I mean, when you look at a back injury, I think he's also had a leg injury at some point where he tore the ACL and MCL, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, I mean, he's still very good. I'm just not sure right now how that's going to definitely work when you still got a lot of issues you got to do. You got to make sure you clear up a decent amount of cap space still. You still got a way to buzzsaw that down. I mean, that's the name of the game here. And then what's going to be happening, too, with the offense? I mean, listen, I love adding to the defense, but what are you really doing for the offense on that side? I mean, I would think that I will put a little bit more extra attention on the offense. Why not use that money on renting a player, maybe like a Mark Ingram here? I mean, some guys that are free agents in this market that can help the run game right now. Because James Conner's future does not seem to be totally safe here. I mean, at this point, with the Steelers, it doesn't seem like he's going to be sticking around. Plus, you also got Juju Smith-Schuster's name flowing around right now. A couple teams who may be interested in him. Remember, he just played his entire rookie deal right now. There has been no indication that the Steelers are going to try and tag this guy or come to any deal with him. And be personally honest with you, I mean, as much as Juju Smith-Schuster has done a terrific job as far as making catches the way he had to make them, create some blocks, he is not that guy yet. I mean, I think he's definitely above an Emmanuel Sanders, I think. I compare him slightly to, but more a little bit above Emmanuel Sanders right there because he can definitely help out, I believe, more so, in the wideout position than anything. So that's where I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking at running game. Can they get a running game legitimately? I mean, in this you're in free agency or for the draft right now, because the thing is right now, when you look at the running back market in this draft right here, I mean, a lot of people have been like linking the Steelers to the Najee Harris right here, and coming out of Alabama right there, who's the second ranked prospect according to Walter Football here. And remember, I mean, we ain't gonna have no combine. I think they're just be having at their campuses on a video or whatever where scouts can be seen right here. But I mean, at the same time, too, I mean, he has amassed for 4,624 yards of scrimmage with 57 touchdowns too. And with the Steelers being ranked 24th right now, he's projected to score in the first 2 rounds, as is the number one running back in this draft right now is Travis Etienne right now. And he is out of Clemson right now, who has also got more yards on scrimmage. He has gotten 6,107 yards, better average, by the way, nearly 8 yards per play with 78 touchdowns, which includes 70 rushing touchdowns and 78 receiving touchdowns, realistically. When you look at this guy right here, I mean, 70 touchdowns and 8 receiving touchdowns, excuse me. So 78 total touchdowns here. I would like to think on that. I mean, you're definitely going to be looking at what's more available here. Maurkice Pouncey, by the way, let's go back to him for a second. He finishes for second most as a Steeler in his NFL career, tied with Mike Webster and a few other Steelers players for second most Pro Bowls with 9. He is a 2-time All-Pro. Like I said, he's been an all-decade team. With his retirement, he's going to be clearing up $8 million in salary cap space for the Steelers in 2020-21. He was slated to count over 14 and 3/4 million against the cap for this season under the Steelers' watch. Now, another thing too, want to get into right now when you look at it, Steelers are trying to draft a quarterback right now. If you really think about it, and when you really think about it too, I mean, with the quarterback position, I mean, aside from Ben Roethlisberger, the highest quarterback they ever gotten since Ben Roethlisberger was Cordell Stewart back in 1995. I mean, he was selected in the second round, 60th overall of Colorado, finished with an approximate value of 68. I mean, he was still right there. I mean, remember, I don't think they necessarily drafted him as a quarterback, but what he could do all around as a football player, receiver, a return man, and then some quarterback play. So, I mean, if you really think about it, too, and then the other guy, I mean, if you want to say a legitimate quarterback outside of Cordell Stewart, would have to be Neil O'Donnell back in 1990. He was a third-round pick, 70th overall out of Maryland. I mean, he did go to the Super Bowl with that team, but more so because of a real good defense he had in his corner. So, I mean, those are your options right there. So, I mean, what are they going to do with their first pick? Are they going to look at a quarterback if the shoe fits at this point? Also, too, I mean, right now, we're going to be taking a look more so, too. I mean, you got to think centers right now. I mean, the only legit centers they got on here, I mean, if you think about it, too, I mean, you could probably maybe get Rashawn Slater out of Northwestern from the Big Ten Conference right now, who he is the number one prospect in that regard, played 3 seasons with that time, and he has helped total offense right now for 1,066 yards in those 3 seasons, averaging 4.8 yards per game. So we'll see about that. But then again, too, what about tight ends? I mean, tight end, that's another one they've been without for a long time. Will they draft a tight end with their first pick over here when we look at it? And we'll see. I mean, there's still a lot of questions here, a lot of stuff you could spin the dice on right now. And if you really think about it, too, I mean, and if you also look at it too, I mean, trying to trade for quarterbacks in the draft. I mean, Dale Lally knows a lot of people, teams, how they've been able to trade. I mean, take for example the Eagles. They traded up to number 2 for Carson Wentz back in 2016. The Eagles made 2 moves to get up to the second spot. First, they sent the 13th pick, which would be used on Pro Bowl offensive tackle Laremy Tunsil, quarterback Byron Maxwell, and linebacker Kiko Alonso to the Dolphins for the 8th pick in the first round. So that was an example of a trade right there. But you look how that situation is starting to work out right here. Guy who signed the contract extension, a big money contract, a couple of seasons ago. And now, I mean, you're looking at a situation right now where the Eagles are demanding a first round pick as one of the compensations for him. I have no way that I see that happening. I mean, you saw how the Rams were able to do that for Matt Stafford. I mean, right there, but still, I mean, Stafford, I don't know. But the Rams, I mean, at the end of the day, they're just one of those aggressive teams right there where they believe they are a quarterback away. They just have to be more aggressive and getting the right pieces added. So I'm not sure about that. I mean, you look at the Chiefs and Texans. I mean, the Chiefs who filed a trade partner to move up to the 10th pick, but in the bill citing the 27th selection to them and the 3rd round pick for that year's draft, and Kansas City's 2018 first round pick to Buffalo for the 10th selection, which was used to draft Patrick Mahomes that year. And you look how that's turned out right there. I mean, Super Bowl champion, mobile quarterback right there. I mean, speaking of which, I mean, when you truly look at it, and speaking of mobile quarterbacks too, I mean, I think of anything, this Super Bowl right now, when you really think about it too, at the end of the day, I mean, people will always say, I mean, we need guys who could like move around the pocket, I mean, rush and pass. But to be perfectly honest with you too, I mean, when you really think about it, I mean, for the most part of this time right now, we've only seen at least about, I think, 22 quarterbacks in the history of that time been able to win Super Bowls using their mobility. Or 21 quarterbacks right now. I mean, with the last one being Patrick Mahomes, it rarely happens, to be honest with you. I just don't think necessarily you have to have that around. I mean, it does help to move around. I mean, avoid sacks, but I mean, look at what the offensive line was able to do for Brady too. I mean, look at the defense that was devised up by Todd Bowles here in this recent Super Bowl. What they've been able to do for the playoffs. I mean, it still comes down to where you could just drop back in the packet, dish out the long ball, and we'll see where that goes. So, if anything, that's another thing in itself right now. But like I said, fair or foul right now on J.J. Watt coming over to the Steelers for 2021. I'm going to have to say fair for right now. Right now, they are the leading candidate at plus 150. Second, you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at plus 200, which is a team I'm predicting more than likely. If you really want to win a Super Bowl, I think the Buccaneers give him the best shot out of everybody. I mean, yeah, you got his home state in Wisconsin. I mean, coming to play with the Packers, but I'm not so sure right there, too. When you got a guy in doubt like Aaron Rodgers right now, I mean, will J.J. Watt be enough to convince him to stick around and play the guard? And plus, I don't trust Aaron Rodgers in big games like that anymore. I really don't. I mean, he's not the biggest game winner as skilled as he is. You got the Ravens and Ravens also right up there with the Packers at number 3. They're at plus 600. By the way, the Bucs are plus 200. Cowboys and Patriots come next right now at plus 900. I mean, the Cowboys, I think it could definitely make sense by keeping them in the state of Texas right there. You know how Jerry Jones likes to keep box office attraction for the Cowboys. Always continues to put glitz over winning a lot of time. That glitz and glamour type of feel. Mega signing. I'm not sure if he wants to go over with the Patriots right there, be reunited with Bill O'Brien. But then play with a guy like Bill Belichick, who's competed for a lot of years. Their arrow is still kind of pointing down for the moment until they figure out their quarterback situation right now. Then you also got the Rams right now. Just like the Cowboys, more star power, but put a lot more extra guys on that defense, pair with Dominic and Sue, Leonard Floyd right there. I mean, who's another one who's had a decent year that year. You got the Titans on this list right now at plus 1,800 here. I mean, and much more. And then maybe you could say the Bills. I mean, the Titans, who are a team right now who are needing some defensive upgrade to kind of keep them around. So we'll see. We got a lot of mixed right now. I'll say fair, but I'm just not so sure if I'm totally in favor of it right now. And yeah, we'll see what's going to happen right now. I got Fernando here saying that forget drafting running back. I want a defense. Well, I understand that, but at the same time, too, offense, I mean, if you don't want to be looking like a predictable offense, you still got to score points at the end of the day. I don't mind adding on to the defense, but you got to have some balance. I don't want to find this team in a similar situation where they were down in the last, 5 games of the season where you won 1 out of those remaining 5 games. That cannot happen. 1 out of your remaining 6 and out of the playoffs. You cannot have that. I mean, it's just a lot of pressing needs right there. I definitely, like I said, I'm going to be looking at this draft right now by what's best available. I'm definitely still looking at a run game or some piece in the offensive line, center, guard, or tackle. Then you could say quarterback, or who knows, maybe a tight end too. I mean, I doubt they would have selected that with their first pick, but let's be honest. When's the last time they had a decent tight end since Heath Miller? That is still up in the air. So I'm going to go ahead and let this podcast go for tonight. Catching back once again, returning on Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. That's their time. Once again, you guys can follow me on social media, on Twitter and Instagram at Prodigy Richey for the Mass Steel Podcast. On Twitter, it is at Mass Steel CJR and at Mass Steel Nation on Instagram. So I leave you. Don't be trolling. Be rolling. Here we go, serious. Here we go. I gone.
Hey, you blink, I'll cut your eyelids off. Don't you blink. I got you. Let's go.